Right, stop what you're doing and listen to this. I've spent the last 2 months talking to mechanics across Britain, and I asked them one simple question. What car makes your heart sink when it rolls into your workshop? Not the cars that are interesting to work on, not the ones that make them money, the cars they actively dread seeing. And the answers were absolutely fascinating, because these aren't necessarily the cars that break down most often. These are the cars that cause mechanics genuine stress, the ones where a simple job turns into a nightmare, where you quote someone for a repair and halfway through you discover it's going to cost 3 times as much, where everything that can go wrong does go wrong. See, mechanics know things about certain cars that the general public doesn't. They know which models have design flaws that turn routine maintenance into a 6-hour ordeal, which cars require special tools that cost a fortune, which vehicles are built in such a stupid way that you have to remove half the engine just to change a water pump. So hit that subscribe button right now, smash the like button, because what I'm about to reveal will completely change which cars you avoid on the used market. And wait until you hear about number 2. Even experienced mechanics refuse to work on them. Let's crack on. Renault Espace. Right then, let's start with a car that looks practical and sensible. The Renault Espace. Big French MPV, loads of space for families, distinctive styling. You see them everywhere, but mechanics absolutely hate them. I spoke to a garage owner in Manchester who's been in the trade for 30 years. He told me something brilliant. When an Espace books in for what should be a simple job, I know I'm going to regret it. Every single time. The problem with the Espace isn't that it's unreliable, though it is. The problem is that everything is designed in the most awkward, frustrating way possible. French engineers clearly never considered that someone would actually have to repair these cars. Want to change the battery? On most cars, that's a 10-minute job. On the Espace, the battery is buried under the passenger seat. You've got to remove the seat, unbolt multiple panels, disconnect various electrical components. What should be simple becomes an hour-long ordeal. The brake discs are another nightmare. They're held on with security screws that strip if you look at them wrong. Mechanics end up drilling them out, which takes ages and adds cost to what should be a straightforward brake job. I had an Espace in last week for new brake pads. One mechanic told me, should have been an hour job. Took me 4 hours because the screws were corroded solid and I had to drill every single one out. Customer wasn't happy paying for 4 hours when I quoted for 1, but what could I do? The diesel engines have the particulate filter buried deep in the exhaust system. Accessing it requires removing half the underside of the car. What should be a straightforward DPF replacement becomes an all-day job. But here's what really frustrates mechanics. The diagnostic systems are temperamental. Plug in the diagnostic tool and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The car throws random error codes that don't mean what they're supposed to mean. You spend hours chasing faults that turn out to be nothing. How many of you have ever wondered why garage bills are so high on certain cars? This is why. The labor time is ridiculous because the cars are badly designed. Citroen C5. Now let's talk about another French car that makes mechanics groan, the Citroen C5. Executive saloon, high-drop pneumatic suspension, comfortable ride when it works. But when it doesn't work, absolute nightmare. The high-drop pneumatic suspension system is the big problem. It's brilliant when everything's functioning properly, gives you that magic carpet ride that Citroens are famous for. But when something fails, mechanics dread working on it. A mechanic in Birmingham explained it to me. The C5 suspension system has about 15 different components that can fail. Spheres, accumulators, height sensors, pumps, valves, and diagnosing which one has failed takes hours because they all cause similar symptoms. The car comes in sitting on its bump stops. Could be a leak in one of the spheres, could be a failed pump, could be a blocked valve, could be an electrical fault. Working out which one requires specialist diagnostic equipment and a lot of experience. I had a C5 in last month, one mechanic told me. Customer said the suspension had collapsed. I spent 3 hours diagnosing it, found it was a failed accumulator. Ordered the part, fitted it, car still sitting low. Turned out there was also a leak in one of the spheres. Another 2 hours diagnosing, another part ordered. By the time I'd fixed it properly, I'd spent a whole day on it. And here's the kicker, the parts are expensive, a single sphere costs serious money, the pump costs even more. And because the system is complicated, you often need to replace multiple components to fix one problem. The diesel engines aren't much better. The DPF system is overcomplicated and fails constantly. The EGR valve is buried where you can't easily access it. What should be routine maintenance becomes a major job. But what really frustrates mechanics is the electrical systems. Random warning lights that come on and off. Faults that disappear when you try to diagnose them. Problems that can't be reproduced in the workshop but happen constantly when the customer's driving. The C5 is the car I least like to see on my ramp, a garage owner told me. Not because I can't fix it, I can, but because I know it's going to take twice as long as it should, and the customer's going to complain about the bill even though I've charged them fairly for the time it took. Smart Fortwo. Right, here's one that surprises people. The Smart Fortwo. Tiny city car, easy to park, cheap to run. What could possibly be difficult about working on something so small? Everything. Absolutely everything. I spoke to a mechanic in Leeds who specializes in small cars. He told me, the Smart is proof that small doesn't mean simple. It's one of the most awkward cars to work on I've ever encountered. The engine is in the back, which sounds fine until you try to access anything. To do routine maintenance, you've got to remove multiple panels, unbolt trim pieces, and work in a space that's barely big enough to fit your hands. Changing the spark plugs, which should be a simple job, requires removing half the rear bodywork. You can't see what you're doing. You can't get tools in easily. What takes 20 minutes on a normal car takes 2 hours on a Smart. The clutch is automated, which means when it fails, and it will fail, replacing it is horrendously expensive. Not because the parts are expensive, but because the labor time is ridiculous. The whole rear of the car has to come apart. I had a Smart in for a clutch replacement, one mechanic told me. Quoted the customer based on the book time. Took me 3 hours longer than the book time because nothing came apart easily. Everything was corroded, every bolt was seized. Lost money on that job. But here's what really makes mechanics dread the Smart. Parts availability is terrible. It's not a mainstream car, so parts aren't kept in stock at normal motor factors. Everything has to be ordered, which means delays, which means the car sits in your workshop taking up space. The diagnostic systems are Mercedes-based, which means you need Mercedes diagnostic equipment to properly fault find. Most independent garages don't have it, which means they're working blind. And the customers who own Smarts often bought them because they're cheap, which means they expect cheap repairs. Trying to explain why a simple service costs more than they expected is awkward. The Smart is everything that's wrong with modern car design, a garage owner told me. Overcomplicated, badly packaged, expensive to maintain, and a pain in the arse to work on. I actively discourage customers from buying them. Audi A4, now we're getting to the really problematic ones. The Audi A4 from this generation. Premium German engineering, should be well designed and easy to work on, right? Wrong. Mechanics hate these cars with a passion. The oil service is the first clue that something's wrong. On most cars, changing the oil is straightforward. Drain the old oil, replace the filter, fill with new oil. Job done in 20 minutes. On the B8A4, it's a nightmare. The oil filter is on top of the engine, which sounds convenient. But to access it, you've got to remove engine covers, disconnect various pipes and wiring looms, and work in a tiny space. What should be simple becomes an hour-long job. But it gets worse. Once you've changed the oil, you have to reset the service indicator using the diagnostic computer. Except Audi have coded it so you need their proprietary software. Independent garages either need to buy expensive Audi diagnostic equipment, or they can't do the service properly. The DPF system is another nightmare. When it blocks, and it will block, cleaning or replacing it requires removing the entire exhaust system. Hours of labor for what should be a straightforward job. A mechanic in Glasgow told me, the A4 is designed so that independent garages struggle to work on it. Everything requires special tools or special software. It's Audi's way of forcing people to use main dealers. The timing belt replacement is horrendous as well. The engine bay is so cramped that accessing the belt requires removing the front bumper, the radiator, and half the front of the car. What takes 3 hours on a Ford takes 8 hours on an Audi. I had an A4 in for a timing belt, one mechanic explained. Customer got 3 quotes. I was the cheapest at just under $1,000. Main dealer wanted $2,000. When he questioned why it was so expensive, I showed him what was involved. He went pale. But here's what really frustrates mechanics. The electronics. Everything's controlled by computers. When something electrical fails, diagnosing it takes hours because you're chasing software faults rather than physical problems. The MMI infotainment system crashes constantly. The parking sensors stop working for no apparent reason. The dashboard lights up like a Christmas tree with faults that aren't actually faults. I spent 4 hours last week diagnosing a parking sensor fault on an A4, a mechanic told me. Turned out to be a software glitch. 4 hours of my time for a problem that wasn't even a real problem. How do I charge a customer fairly for that? And the parts prices are astronomical. Audi charge premium prices for everything. A water pump that costs 80 quid on a VW costs 200 quid on an Audi. Same part, different badge. The A4 is everything wrong with premium German cars, a garage owner told me. Overcomplicated, overpriced, designed to be difficult to work on independently. I tell customers to avoid them. Stop. Listen to this for a minute. We've just covered 4 cars that professional mechanics actively dread seeing in their workshops. Renault Espaces, where simple jobs become all-day ordeals. Citroen C5s with suspension systems that take a whole day to diagnose. Smart Fortwos, where you need to remove half the car to change spark plugs. Audi A4s designed specifically to make independent garage work difficult. And we've got 2 more to go. And these are worse. The next 2 cars are so problematic that some mechanics actually refuse to work on them. They'd rather turn away the business than deal with the stress and hassle. These are the cars that cause experienced professionals to say, take it somewhere else. If this video is opening your eyes to which cars to avoid, smash that like button right now. And make sure you're subscribed because next week I'm revealing which cars are actually brilliant to own and maintain. Right, 2 more cars that mechanics genuinely dread. Pay close attention, Land Rover Discovery. 3. Right then, the Land Rover Discovery 3. British icon, premium SUV, 7 seats, loads of capability. Looks fantastic, drives well when everything's working, but mechanics absolutely despise these cars. And I mean genuinely despise them. I spoke to a Land Rover specialist in Cardiff who's been working on these vehicles for 20 years. He told me something shocking. The Discovery 3 is the worst designed modern vehicle I've ever worked on. Nothing is where it should be. Everything takes 3 times longer than it needs to. Let's start with the air suspension because that's what usually brings them into the workshop. The system fails constantly. Leaking air springs, failed compressors, blocked valves, but diagnosing which component has failed is horrendous. The air springs are buried behind plastic panels and structural components. To access them, you've got to remove wheel arch liners, disconnect sensors, unbolt subframe components. What should be a 2-hour job becomes a full day. But here's where it gets really frustrating for mechanics. Land Rover designed the Discovery 3 so that many jobs require removal of major components just to access basic service items. Want to replace the alternator? You've got to remove the front bumper and the radiator. The alternator is buried so deep in the engine bay that there's no other way to get to it. Need to change the turbocharger on the diesel? That's a gearbox out job. Yes, you read that correctly. To replace the turbo, you have to remove the gearbox to access the back of the engine. I had a Discovery 3 in for a turbo replacement, a mechanic told me. Customer nearly fainted when I gave him the quote. He thought I was ripping him off. I had to show him the workshop manual to prove that it genuinely requires gearbox removal. The electrical systems are a nightmare as well. The Discovery 3 has about 40 different control modules scattered throughout the car. When one fails, diagnosing which one is the problem takes hours. And here's the real kicker. The modules can't be replaced with aftermarket units. They have to be genuine Land Rover parts, and they have to be programmed using Land Rover's proprietary software. Independent garages either pay thousands for the software or they can't fix the car. I had a Discovery 3 with failed parking sensors, one mechanic explained. Diagnosed it to a faulty parking control module. Part cost over 500 quid. Needed programming with Land Rover software which I don't have. Had to send the customer to the main dealer just to program a module. The handbrake is another design disaster. It's an electric system that seizes constantly. When it fails, the whole assembly has to be replaced. Calipers, actuators, wiring, the lot. And because it's electronic, you can't manually release it when it's seized. The car is just stuck. But what really makes mechanics dread the Discovery 3 is the labour time versus what customers expect to pay. These cars are worth so little now that owners don't want to spend serious money on repairs, but the repairs take serious time because everything's badly designed. I quoted a customer 1,200 quid for air suspension repair on his Discovery 3, a garage owner told me. He said that was ridiculous because he only paid 4 grand for the car. I showed him what was involved: full day's work, expensive parts, complicated procedure. He still thought I was trying to rip him off. Took it to another garage who quoted the same. Eventually scrapped it because nobody would fix it for what he wanted to pay. Some mechanics now refuse to work on Discovery 3s because the hassle isn't worth it. The jobs take too long, the parts are too expensive, and customers complain about bills even when they're charged fairly. If a Discovery 3 tries to book in, I tell them I'm fully booked, one mechanic admitted. I don't want the stress. There are easier ways to make money than fighting with badly designed Land Rovers. Mini Countryman. Right, we've reached number 1. And this is the car that mechanics hate more than any other on this list, the Mini Countryman. It's got all the problems of a regular Mini. Expensive parts, complicated systems, awkward design, but it adds a whole new layer of nightmares because it's bigger and has 4-wheel drive. A mechanic in Birmingham told me, "The Countryman is everything wrong with modern automotive design condensed into one vehicle. I genuinely dread seeing them. The engine bay is so cramped you can barely fit your hands in. Everything is stacked on top of everything else. To access basic components, you've got to remove multiple other components first. Want to change the spark plugs? That's a 3-hour job. You've got to remove the intake manifold, disconnect various sensors and pipes, work blind because you can't see what you're doing. What takes 30 minutes on a normal car takes half a day on a Countryman." The timing chain is the big one that terrifies mechanics. The Countryman uses BMW's problematic timing chain system that stretches and fails. When it does, it destroys the engine. But here's the nightmare. Replacing the timing chain on a Countryman requires removing the engine from the car. Not just moving it, actually removing it completely. The chain is at the back of the engine, and there's no access without engine removal. I quoted a customer for timing chain replacement on his Countryman, one mechanic told me. Over $3,000 for the job. He accused me of trying to rob him. I showed him the procedure: engine out, strip it down, replace the chain, rebuild, reinstall. He went to 3 other garages. They all quoted the same. Eventually the chain failed and wrote the engine off. The 4-wheel drive system adds even more complications. When the Haldex coupling fails, and it does fail, replacing it requires specialist tools and knowledge. Most independent garages can't do it. The electronic systems are overcomplicated as well. Everything's controlled by multiple computers. When something electrical fails, you're chasing software faults through layers of control modules. But what really frustrates mechanics is the parts situation. BMW only sell many components as complete assemblies. A small plastic part breaks? You can't buy just that part, you have to buy the entire assembly for 10 times the price. I had a Countryman where a small coolant pipe had cracked, a mechanic explained. The pipe itself would have cost a tenner, but BMW don't sell it separately. You have to buy the whole coolant manifold assembly for 300 quid. The customer thought I was lying. I showed him the parts catalogue. He was furious with BMW, but there was nothing I could do. The service position procedures are ridiculous as well. To access certain components, you have to put the car into service position using diagnostic software. Without the software, you can't access the parts you need to service. And here's the final insult. Many Countryman owners bought them thinking they were getting a premium small SUV. They don't expect premium repair costs. So when they get a bill for what the job actually costs, they argue. I had a Countryman owner accuse me of overcharging, a garage owner told me. I showed him my labour sheets, 10 hours actual work time charged at fair rates. He still didn't believe me, said it shouldn't take that long to fix a small car. I explained that small doesn't mean simple. He left angry and wrote a bad review online. Some mechanics now have a blanket policy. No Minis, especially no Countrymans. They'd rather lose the business than deal with the stress, the arguments and the bad reviews from customers who don't understand why repairs cost so much. The Countryman represents everything wrong with BMW-era Mini design, a mechanic told me. Overcomplicated, overpriced, badly packaged, impossible to work on, and owned by people who expect cheap repairs because it's a small car. I won't touch them anymore. Life's too short. The pattern here is absolutely clear. These aren't necessarily the most unreliable cars. They're the cars that are badly designed, awkwardly packaged, overcomplicated, and expensive to maintain. How many of you have wondered why garage bills are so high on certain cars? Now you know. It's not that mechanics are ripping you off, it's that the manufacturers have designed cars that are horrendously difficult to work on. Let me know in the comments if you own any of these cars. And please share this video with anyone who's thinking about buying one. They need to understand what they're getting into. If you found this useful, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Hit that notification bell because next week I'm revealing the cars that mechanics actually enjoy working on, the ones that are well designed and easy to maintain. And seriously, if you're in the market for a used car, think about the poor mechanic who's going to have to work on it. The cars that are easy to maintain cost you less in labour charges. The cars that are nightmares to work on will drain your wallet with labour bills. Right then, that's it from me today. Thanks for watching, and remember, just because a car looks good in the showroom doesn't mean it's well designed under the bonnet. See you next time. Cheers!